honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just think it's very dangerous. But how can you say that thousands of children were raped, but I'm not going to find out who raped them?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson is freaking out. Yes, I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall, and Tucker put out a video interview today with Saagar Enjeti in which they were expressing outrage over the Trump administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Of course, many in the MAGA media sphere are furious because they had been led to believe this conspiracy that not only did he not commit suicide, he was murdered in a Manhattan prison where he was being held, but also there was a vast list of his clients, pederasts, famous people, powerful people that would be released under Trump's leadership. Well, on Sunday, not so much. They put out a memo, the DOJ, saying that there is no client list. He committed suicide. They released video, and all of that went away. Well, guess what? Tucker's not buying it.
This, for a bunch of reasons, it's so obvious. It is salacious. People have followed it for years. The president promised to reveal the truth about this. Pam Bondi, as you said, went on television and said, we have the truth and we're going to give it to you.
Yes.
I think this is a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's bigger. So. I hope so too, actually.
It's a really big deal. And he's not speaking to cable news viewers or moderates on either side. He's specifically talking to the people that has become his audience, and that is the true believers of conspiracies that refuse to accept any answer. I don't know if the client list exists or not. That's almost not the point here. The point is, in this dynamic relationship between Tucker Carlson and the Trump administration, he's effectively calling BS on Pam Bondi and, by extension, President Trump for promising something and not delivering. And do you think he's just going to roll over and say, well, I believe that? Nope, he's not. In fact, he's going to make a lot of hay out of it.
So let's just assess this logically. They're covering up, the DOJ, the current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes, very serious crimes.
He's right. By their own description, they said that there were very serious crimes out there that they were going to uncover and prosecute, and now they're not. Either they were lying, or as he says, they are covering up very serious crimes. And then Tucker explains why he thinks that's true.
Mm-hmm. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there are really only two potential explanations that I can think of. Maybe you've got another. The first is that Trump is involved, that, Trump is on the list, that they've got tape of Trump doing something awful. I don't believe that for two reasons. One, I've talked to Trump about it a lot. And I know him. He's not that, for whatever his sins. I don't think he's that guy, actually. I don't think he likes creepy sex stuff. That's just my view.
Tump's not it. He's not on the list, right? There's a lot of talk that the reason they're covering this up is that Trump's on the list. Tucker knows him. He's not a creepy guy. He doesn't believe that to be true. So what is it?
But more, I think, convincing is that this is all information that the Biden administration had. And if there was evidence that Trump had been involved in illegal sexual activity, you think the people who made up Russiagate wouldn't have leaked it?
Right.
Come on now.
He does make a pretty good point about the previous administration and partisan attacks that, stands to reason.
So the only other explanation that I can think of, again, maybe you've got another, is that intel services are at the very center of this story, U.S. and Israeli, and they're being protected. I think that seems like the most plausible.
That's the most obvious. They have a history of this. There have been multiple documented cases of pedophilia inside of the CIA perpetrated by CIA officers, documented that in many of those cases, I believe over a dozen cases, this was a BuzzFeed news piece years back, where the CIA specifically did not want to prosecute those individuals in federal court for fear that they would reveal sources and methods if they were pulled into open court. And they basically just made it go away. The only time they actually prosecuted somebody for child pornography was whenever he'd already being prosecuted for mishandling classified information.
Well, when they want to crush you, they put kiddie porn in your computer. It's why I don't have a computer.
Tucker Carlson fears kiddie porn on his computer. That's why he doesn't have a computer. Honestly, you can make fun of that, but he's a pretty powerful guy. And if there were ever intel ops to take someone's influence away, it makes sense. Maybe he's smart for not having a computer so that he can be manipulated by intel. Nonetheless, they eventually got to the scale of this, and they made clear that they don't think this is just small potatoes. This is not a news cycle that will just quickly go away.
People are mad as hell right now. They are angry.
Too mad.
Angry.
Too mad.
Yes.
No, I agree. I'm legit. That Epstein thing, it's not even about Epstein. I think I know what the Epstein thing was. Everybody knows what it was. I think YouPorn is the same thing.
Yes.
They're collecting information to blackmail people on YouPorn. Do you think a foreign government doesn't have access to the back end of YouPorn? I think they do. And so I get it. I understand, everyone knows what's up. But to insult the population by saying, no, you're a conspiracy theorist, it's like, I think you're really playing with fire when you do that.
Especially when you said the conspiracy and then now revert to the line.
It's too much.
That is too much.
Not only is it too much, but they make it very, very clear. It's the people within the Trump administration who said the conspiracy. We're talking about Pam Bondi. We're talking about FBI Director Kash Patel and his number 2, Dan Bongino. Especially Bongino, he made a very lucrative, healthy living off of promoting these conspiracy theories, which he now has to go on Fox News and say, there's nothing there. Tucker's right to call them out and say, which is it? Were you lying then or are you lying now? I think that now that you are in a position of power, he thinks that they're covering it up, but he keeps going.
Do you know, can you call Pam Bondi and say, I think Pam Bondi's under a ton of pressure. Again, I've always liked Pam Bondi. I know her. I think she's under enormous pressure. I don't know how good she is under pressure. I'm trying to be nice, but I don't think that she's like a sinister person who is, doing the work of Leon Black and Ehud Barak on purpose, really. But I wonder if they know this is a real thing here.
They have to know. And the reason why I think they have to know is that the breadcrumbs that got us to this moment have already been sprinkled. Kash Patel testified and said it was suicide. Went on the Joe Rogan podcast and said, if I had that information, don't you think I would tell you? He killed himself. That was basically, this was an enshrinement of many of the things that they already put out there. And the criticism and really the outrage over each of those individual comments, let's say the so-called Epstein files released with many of the influencers, there was outrage at every step. So they're not stupid.
They're not stupid. Of course, he's talking about the notebook, the photo op with the MAGA influencers that Pam Bondi gave out with all the Epstein information. They're not stupid? Who's they that's not stupid? And
But how can you say that thousands of children were raped, but I'm not going to find out who raped them?
Yeah.
How can you say that?
I agree completely.
They said that. By the way, when Pam Bondi went on television and said, I have a videotape of kids getting abused, I followed this case closely, and I know a lot of the people involved, as I've told you.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I didn't know that. Really? Thousands of children got raped?
Yeah.
What he's talking about is Pam Bondi going on Fox News a few months ago and saying this.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Who raped them? Where are the rapists? Why aren't they in jail? This is the Department of Justice.
Yes.
That is so crazy. This is honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just think it's very dangerous.
He makes a good point, right? Who raped them and why are we letting them go? This is why he's outraged, because he's either been lied to then or now. And then he goes on to say, just how big a deal this is.
I just think it's very dangerous to play around with this stuff. Very dangerous.
Well,
I don't want a revolution, but if you wanted a revolution, this is how you would act.
Yes.
You say you want a revolution. That's playing with fire right there. He's basically saying that people will revolt over being lied to about thousands of children being raped, if true, or being lied to about that. Now, I don't really think that everyone's going to revolt over that, but he's got a big audience that follows what he says, and he's speaking for them. So I think this is a big, big issue for the Trump administration. By the way, Trump hosted a cabinet meeting that was streamed live and was on all the cable news networks. Guess what came up as a conversation?
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape?
So that's an unnamed reporter who was asking, like, what's up with the Epstein files? He was asking Pam Bondi, but Trump couldn't resist himself and interjected and made clear how he feels about the story.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean,
He's outraged. He's just as angry that he's being asked about this. But this is a fascinating moment because this shows the split between the media MAGA sphere, represented in this instance by Tucker Carlson's frustration and anger over the Epstein conspiracy gone awry, and the fact that he's even forced to talk about it. He can't believe it. Eventually, he let Pam Bondi give the answer.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
So if you notice, she said that, very detailed, that the thousands of videos that they had previously found, they weren't videos of children being raped, but it was rather porn that Epstein had downloaded.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn, and there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
So again, did her story change, or was she not being honest at the very outset? Who knows? All I know is that this is a story that's not going away. It's got us talking about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's being principled on this, and the Trump administration has got to get their head around this quickly, because they look really bad and distrustful with a core of their base that had believed everything they said and now thinks they are part of this massive cover-up. And they run the risk of losing that very important part of their coalition or their base that they can ill afford to use. If you're always complaining about the deep state and then you end up in a position of power, you eventually get blamed for being the deep state. And I think that's what we're going to see in the next year or so. And I think Tucker Carlson's realizing that he doesn't have any allegiance to the Trump administration or Pam Bondi. He's more interested in giving the audience what he wants and selling ads against that, as all media figures do. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall. Please click the link and subscribe button for more videos like this. Go team.